Almost every student of the American Civil War knows the name John Brown. He was a controversial abolitionist who tried to liberate slaves during the 1840s and 1850s, and sometimes by using violence to do so. But how many of you can identify Dr. John Doy? He was a friend and colleague of Brown's in the Kansas Territory, someone who was just as fiercely determined to liberate enslaved people. In fact, Doy was captured in 1859 with a band of freedom seekers, the same year that Brown launched his dramatic raid on Harper's Ferry, Virginia. Under arrest in Missouri, Doy was accused of enticing slaves out of the state. But unlike Brown, who was executed by Virginia authorities in early December of that year, Dr. Doy was successfully rescued from prison by a band of brave Kansas abolitionists in July 1859. The connections between John Doy and John Brown went even deeper. The two anti-slavery figures had been combat allies during the period in the mid-1850s known as Bleeding Kansas, when strife over the future of the Western Territory and its relationship with slavery almost led to civil war. Then in late 1858, Brown led a raid across the border into western Missouri that killed a slaveholder and freed about a dozen slaves. At the same time, another group of Missouri freedom seekers, as well as two free black men named Charles Smith and Wilson Hayes, were also fleeing north. Dr. Doy and Brown had agreed to share an armed escort to help guide and protect the group, but Brown decided that he needed the entire escort for his own group of fugitives. Left alone to travel out of Lawrence with the enslaved families hidden away in covered wagons, Doy's group was betrayed and then captured by slave catchers in January. While he was being held in Platte City Jail in the spring of 1859, Doy heard brutal beatings inflicted on Hayes and Smith by slave catchers who refused to accept that they were free men and not runaways. He also learned that several of the formerly enslaved families were being broken apart and sold into the Deep South. But miraculously, some of the prisoners managed a second escape or were even released. After 2 trials, Doy himself finally got convicted and sentenced to 5 years in the penitentiary. But before he got transferred, his abolitionist allies in Kansas, including his own son, broke into the jail at St. Joseph, Missouri, and rescued him. Doy's sensational rescue back in July was part of the reason why John Brown's execution in December happened so quickly and with such a show of force. Rumors were rampant that Doy and other abolitionists were at work once again to frustrate the slave power with daring violence. John Brown's earlier successful raid into Missouri and his ties to the defiant Dr. John Doy have been mostly forgotten in American classrooms, but they offer critical context for understanding the 1859 raid at Harper's Ferry and why it played such a pivotal role in the escalation towards civil war.